Dudula. I'm here with my Treasurer General, Solomon Kekan, on my right-hand side. Then I've got my General Secretary, Dudula, on my left-hand side, followed by Provincial Secretary of KZN, Mambulazi, followed by on the extreme left, my Provincial Chairperson, Dr. Vusi Khadebe. Now, Operation Dudula is here in KZN today, mainly to highlight the plight of unemployed young professionals in different fields, who are today saying we want to assist the affected communities and the government from the recent floods that we have experienced. The floods that affected the entire country emotionally so badly. And the concerning fact that we took note of seriously is that if not all, mostly it's South Africans who were affected by the floods, whilst non-South Africans were watching the floods from the high floors of the high-rise buildings as if they are watching a movie. And take note that most of those buildings, it's either they are illegally occupied or they are hijacked, whilst our people are left to live in the river banks being neglected. And non-South Africans, they do as they please in our own country. Nonetheless, all these professionals who are here from the building and construction industry, they are then volunteering their services to the government and the communities to assist in the rebuilding of the country, and specifically KZN, regardless of the fact that most of them are being isolated or overlooked when it comes to job opportunities. Now, us being here, we need to highlight that when we talk of professionals, we talk of all graduates in South Africa who are idling around, unemployed, whereas our government that should be taking care of South Africans, that should be, prioritizing South Africans and uplifting its own people, they are being overlooked by the same government. You go to our hospitals, you find nurses that you can't even hear the language that they are speaking. They don't speak any of our native languages. You go to schools. Schools are flooded by foreign teachers, whereas we are sitting with almost 30,000 unemployed teachers. These are all the graduates that you see around here, whom we hear about them. And some of them, they will elaborate on the challenges that they are facing and the way they are being overlooked by the government. The very same government that is encouraging youth to go to school, get educated. After that, what happens? They go and import the skill that we've got in the country, which doesn't make sense to us. But what I will do, I will hand over to my secretary, who's gonna elaborate further on that. And we will come back after the round of professionals and pave a way forward and proposals as to how this situation can be resolved in the country. Over to you, Sec.
Good morning, everyone. So what we are basically saying here is we are sitting with a high rate of unemployment, and yet we have people that are not qualified, that are having fraudulent documents within our departments. So we're sitting here in a round table with professionals that are in teaching. We've got nurses here, we've got qualified artisans, we've got qualified engineers that are unemployed. Others own their own businesses, but they're not getting anything from our own departments. So our non-South Africans are sitting with these jobs. They are making money out of these contracts that they're getting from the department, but our own South Africans are on the list at the end of the list, basically, and they're getting nothing out of it. So today we are here to introduce our professional team that will assist the KZN disaster that just happened, and they're here to tell us and elaborate more of what services are they here to offer, because they are here actually to assist the government as well with saving all these costs. So we cannot say there will be a tender that would be awarded to an architect or the town planner, because those services will be rendered voluntarily. So with that being said, they will elaborate more on what services they will assist the government together with the homes and the families that are affected by this disaster. Thank you.
Morning all. My name is Tabani and I represent a collective of young black professionals and young businesses in the built environment that are made up of architectural teams, engineers, geotech, town planners, and a collective of other professionals which are individual professionals. We, as a collective of young black professionals and businesses in KZN, took it upon ourselves to actually have this talk and collaborate in dealing, especially with the floods, when it comes to the floods that happen in the KZN. And we came up to a decision that we are willing to build our own province, since this is our own province where we do businesses. And obviously we would like to volunteer our professional services to the government, the KZN government, and their different department and structures in planning and restoration of infrastructure destroyed by the recent floods. We felt as South African citizens that it is our responsibility, and as professionals and as black businesses in KZN, to take it upon ourselves and take our time off to assist and rebuild, especially by reaching those areas which are seen as disadvantaged communities, especially in replacing people back in houses, making sure that the government that will be assisting people in actually rebuilding, that they do it correctly, procedures are followed. So we looked at mainly disadvantaged townships. We looked at areas, rural areas, that we know that the government is stretched so much that they might not, that the professional help would not reach those kind of areas. So we're saying to ourselves, let us avail ourselves to the government and to their structures, so that the planning can be fast-tracked and people can get services back, services restored, infrastructure restored quickly. We understand that the government is at the moment at a planning stage, in terms of there's nothing really put down in paper or in writing that the way forward that they want to go. So we're saying that we want to fast-track that planning and fast-track the planning way forward by availing ourselves and saying, here we are, use us to fast-track the planning, so that infrastructure, actually, I think after the planning would be the implementing structures that can happen, because before you can get to the implementing, you need planning, and that's what the government is battling with at the moment. So I do represent a number of businesses and a number of individual professionals that are willing, that I said, look, we are available. And obviously we will also be guided by the government and their structures in terms of what services would they need from us and what services we will be providing. We are open, we are here, hence why we engage with Operation Dudula to say, guys, look, this is our plan, and we took this plan to them, and they said, look, they are happy with the plan. It's within their vision as well to build South Africa and to build KZN. and they are for the people. And we are saying, look, we understand that there's been a lot of things that people have been done, whether they've been volunteering their time in assisting people, but we're saying that we understand that that is just for temporary, but then planning is something that the government needs to do very quickly because they're running out of time. And people have infrastructure, people want to get back, people want to rebuild, but we need to make sure that people are rebuilding in places that are not going to be affected at a later stage. We need to look at that planning. The government has plans in place to reinstall infrastructure. We need to look at that infrastructure. What are their plans? How can we help? So the planning can get, then the implementing can happen after that. So we're saying to the government, we are available, thanks to Operation Dudula that availed us this opportunity. And we're saying to ourselves, we're available, and we're calling on all other professionals as well in the built environment to come through and avail themselves to government and help build KZN. And if all of us come together, we can assist government, we can get the planning going as quickly as possible, and people can be restored back. The only thing that pushes us that we want people to be restored back in dignity and in homes that would not, that in 10 years' time we might see another disaster with global warming. That's what's happening. That's what the conversation is happening around the world. So we're saying, as professionals, we need to look at that. Where are we placing our people? We also need to look at now further to the government, adding to the government's plan. So we're saying to government, we understand your situation, and we're here as young black professionals, and I'm calling to other professionals to come through as well and volunteer their time and volunteer their expertise in restoring KZN. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commander Chairperson. My task is now to introduce the graduates that we have in our midst, who unfortunately, are unemployed, despite the fact that they have graduated in different fields. These young men and women represent thousands and thousands of South Africans, young South Africans, who have graduated in their respective fields, but unfortunately at the moment they are not employed. And the unfortunate part is the fact that in some of the skills that they have expertise in, or in some of the skills that they've specialized in, we unfortunately have foreigners who are employed in those particular positions. We find it very, very pathetic on the part of government that they are outsourcing some of the skills that they have internally. I'm going to introduce three of them who are going to speak on behalf of those particular professions or professions. They're going to speak in the order that I'm going to mention. The first one to speak will be Spalele Msane, who is a forensic scientist. Thembiseni Ngema, who is an electrical engineer, who is unemployed as well, and as well as Thabisile Mbonambi, who is an educator. They are just going to speak on the order that I've just mentioned now. We are going to start off with Spalele Msane, who is a forensic scientist, an unemployed graduate in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank everyone here. I would like to thank Operation Dudula for actually allowing us to be part of this movement. The movement is real, and I think the movement is here to stay, as everybody has seen. I myself, Spalele, I graduated in 2019 in forensic science and technology. I wouldn't know if I would call it a mishap or is it the lack of opportunity, but we have been applying constantly. So much so that in a day you in a week, basically, you'd probably be applying maybe to 12 to 16 times, and unfortunately, you're not getting a response. I have a brother, Kaya Madlala as well. He has an LLB qualification. Me and him, we are constantly on the internet looking for work. We're going out, handing out CVs, and unfortunately, there's never been a reply on our side. So it's somewhat unfair a bit to say the least, because now the aspect of saying we as the youth should learn, and then at the same time, you're promoting education. When we have the education, you shift the goalpost again to say we're going to have 3 to 5 years of experience. Now the question becomes, how are we going to get experience if you don't have the opportunity itself to actually be allowed to have the experience? Because there's no programs that are running that are supporting graduates, that are providing graduates with employment to be able to acquire the necessary skills to probably take over for the government. Because the youth, I think there's a saying that says the youth is the future. So the question becomes, if the future is not being supported, who's going to take over for everybody else? So now it's a daunting task with what is happening in South Africa right now, because the opportunities, they're not there. So our government is sorry to say, but is somewhat failing us in some sense, because we're trying, and then we're not receiving any feedback or support from them that's saying that we acknowledge that the graduates are here. What can we do going forward for them? So it's a bit difficult. But I would like to thank this opportunity that we have now. As members, I think we have a brighter future that we're gonna try and participate more as the youth, as I'm here, and some other graduates that are good from the other various qualifications themselves. They're gonna speak out and let everybody know where we are and what difficult tasks we are facing. Thank you.
We can listen again.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank this opportunity brought forward by Operation Dudula organization. As Pelele has highlighted some of our challenges, I think our biggest challenge is the lack of entry-level opportunities, which we experience. Every time when you want to go and apply on the application platforms, you get posts which require a minimum of 3 years experience. That is our biggest challenge, because when you're studying, you qualify, but you don't get experience. I think that's our biggest challenge as graduates. When I did my course, which is electrical engineering at Durban University of Technology, I did the course because it was called scarce skill, but the reality is that there are no opportunities. The government does not bring forward any opportunities for graduates. Thank you.
Thank you, Ntembiseni. Ntembiseni Ngama is a graduate in electrical engineering from DUT. Thabisile Mbonambi is an educator. Take us through, Thabisile.
Thabisile Mbonambi is an unemployed qualified educator. Thank you for the opportunity, everyone, and good morning. I do not want to speak much. However, I am here to confirm that we are here as graduates. We are unemployed. It's not that we are not applying. We do apply. I myself have tried my best to apply here in KZN. I have even moved to other provinces to try my luck. However, for some reason, I had to come back earlier. The issue, I'm not too sure what the issue is regarding our government, because they will come to us and tell us something else, and then they come back to tell us something else. That's okay. Things change. But what we need as unemployed youth is answers. Because we can talk and talk and say everything else, but I believe we need straight answers as to what is the issue, how is the government planning to fix those issues, because if I talk further, then it will go to how I am feeling about what they are doing. I'm not happy about what is happening around, and hopefully things will be sorted, as Dudula is here to help us. I would like to speak further, but I'm not feeling okay about everything that is happening around. And I'm hoping that we will get more graduates who will come forward, who will have a better understanding, or maybe have a way to talk about these things happening around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabisile, and the rest of the unemployed graduates who are with us in this press briefing. I would also like to add that it is very, very sad and frustrating that the institutions of higher learning in South Africa now and again are accepting students to study, but those students are just idling in the streets. They are not employed. And what concerns me most as an academic is the fact that the government is employing foreigners in fields, in fields where our own institutions of higher learning are producing graduates. It really does not make any sense, whether it is political sense or an economic sense. It really does not make any sense to me. Recently, there have been engineers who were imported from Cuba. This press briefing has just demonstrated now that we have qualified engineers in South Africa. And one of those engineers has just stated his case that he is at the moment unemployed. But we have had, engineers imported from Cuba, a skill that we have, in abundance in South Africa. With that being said, I'm just going to throw you, Chair. There's an issue of an unpaid educator who has been employed by one of the schools. He has been teaching without being paid for the past 5 months. And that particular individual is expected to be productive in class. That particular individual is expected to be presentable, in front of the kids, but the Department of Education has not paid that particular individual for the past 5 months. I would like Commander Mambulas maybe to give us a brief take on that issue, on the issue of this unpaid educator. Commander.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to everyone who is here. I am very passionate about education as an ex-educator myself. As a province of KZN, we are flooded with concerns and complaints from the Department of Education, of which amongst those concerns and complaints, the one that Dr. Khatebe has stated, there is a school that has an educator that was supposed to be converted from being a temporary educator to a permanent educator, and who happens to be our member. That educator brought the matter to us, and we contacted the head of department, KZN, head of department education. We emailed them on the 3rd of May, and we requested them to attend to the matter within 5 days, because being unpaid and standing in front of the children, as Commander has stated, doesn't bear good fruits. You cannot have a frustrated, unpaid, hungry teacher in front of the kids doing justice. It cannot be. Our email was acknowledged by the PA of KZN HOD, and we're happy that they received it. We also informed their unions. NAPTOSA is aware of the matter, SATU, even the office of the MEC was informed of this particular case because it is a real concern. They have this educator's full details, the school where he comes from, and we even, in the communication that we had with him, we even told them that if they do not attend to this matter, we'll gladly forward the matter to the media that works with us. So it is not like they are not aware that what we are doing now is going to be done. We inform them in advance. So this particular teacher doesn't know whether he is employed. There has never been a communication from the Department of Education to that teacher. Every morning he gets up, dresses up, and goes to school. The same department is infringing its own policies to say there shouldn't be a teacher in front of the child who hasn't signed the assumption of duty. Here we are with a teacher that has worked, that has stood in front of the class for 5 full months without having the proper papers. It's quite frustrating. As Operation Dudula, we indicated that the perception that people have that we are removing the illegal foreigners, it is not. We stand for umphakathi. For whatever umphakathi is not happy about, we are prepared to handle that. So we are pleading with KZN Department of Education to take this matter as its priority, to attend to this case of this educator that they know, that they have details of, with immediate effect. Thank you, Chair.
Morning. My name is Solomon Kiakana, National Treasurer General of Operation Dudula. Sizodimanda kahle as Operation Dudula manje. Umphakathi usenkingeni. Njoba vele abas volunteera ama services wabo. They need to get imisebenzi. Up until ingakayenzeki lento leyo, we'll keep on protesting up until they hear. Abantwana babantu basebenze, babeke isinkwa phezu kwetafula. Sithi kuma department noma municipalities, we've got high-rising buildings, we've got izindlu occupy abantu bangaphandle, illegal immigrants. Kulaba affected ezindlini zabo. We did the audit in regard with our properties around ema cities, especially la ba affected khona. Sithi while abantu bangabuyisi lapha bayo allocateelwa lezo zindlu nama buildings lawa ya. Sithi all ama graduate around emphakathini magaze forward, because asafuna ukubona ama graduate wethu ahlela ngasebenzi. So kuwonke sizowenza ama desk ngama desk. Imisebenzi le emele bayithole ba deserve ukuthola. Baye esikolweni labantu bahlala iminyaka ba spend imali, so they deserve better la in South Africa. So, bagcina sebaye ema-drugsini because of frustrations. That's why sibona la amahunga amanyawupe sagcwele, because you'll find that most labantu abayenza lezo zinto abantu ababuye ekolweni. So wasafuna ukubona manje impilo ekanje sikhona sibukele. That's why thina as ama-founding members we-Operation Dudula size ngale movement sabona ukuthi no, it can't happen like this. We need ukuthi simove, si-assist umphakathi wethu in general. So manje ngizoyigcina ngokuthi sizoyenza ngasemandleni ukuthi if aba-employ labantu and then they don't offer on the table ukuthi beze laba ama-graduates wethu nama-professionals wethu ukuthi azonceda umphakathi. They're saying we are here to assist. So why singamelanga sibanikeze le opportunity? Banikezeni opportunity, bayenza intuthuko. Ama-infrastructure la khona la abhidlikile la bazowalungisa. They've got potential, they've got capabilities. So thina ngokuthi sisebenza nomphakathi jikelele, we'll make sure ukuthi sizoyenza ama-protest up until yenzeke lento lesicelayo. Dala bacela bafaka ama-CV bathini babayisa left, right and center bangatholi imisebenzi. So isikhathi sokukhuluma manje hayi semele siphele manje, because noma bafaka kuma-department the way ba-corrupting ngakhona most ama-officials, they give these things to abantu bangaphandle west part ukuthi yibo baranayo la. Ama-township economy mele i-raise yonke into circulate around thina. Njengoba bengi-indicatile nangama-properties lawa aba-hijackile labantu. Most of the municipalities, they can't run manje ukuthi bayenze ama-service delivery because labantu ababhadali tax manje. If lezo zindlu bezi-occupyiwe ama-South African, bayakhona ukubhadala ama-rates, and then lama-rates azonceda ama-municipalities across kwenzele khona ukuthi ama-service deliveries ayenzeke emphakathini. So ngalelo liphelele ngizobamba mina as a Treasurer General ngithi will be coming nama-programs. Sifuna ukubona with the time frame yenzeke kungabi talk show. Yabonga.
Yeah. In closing, it is very much clear that we are saying the government of South Africa owes South Africans an explanation of how we find foreign teachers in our schools. How do we find foreign nurses in our hospitals? How do we find foreign engineers in the construction industry? Whereas we've got floods of our children and brothers and sisters who are unemployed. If they can explain to the South Africans as to how did we get to that stage where they encourage people to get out of the streets, don't smoke nyaope, don't smoke drugs, go to school. After going to school, you overlook them. You go over the borders to import that skill. I think it needs to explain to the people of South Africa as to how did we get to that stage. But with that being said, it then says after this demonstration, we are going to intensify our struggle. We will make sure that it happens up until a day where the country will come to a standstill. And they will also approach a court where need be so that they can explain to the Constitutional Court how did they overlook their own children and then went across the borders, went across the seas and imported skills that we've got in South Africa. We are saying to Mr. Kaunda, Nawe Babu Zigalal, there are your children in front of you saying, here we are, take care of us, look at us, don't look at the other way whilst we are here. That is a call that is being made by your children, both of you, Mr. Kaunda and Mr. Zigalal. Then, when it comes to the issue of housing, my colleague just clarified it here. All these abandoned buildings where they don't have owners and whatever, whether maybe they owe services, the municipality has got a right to expropriate those buildings and convert them into RDP units and remove people from let wells, remove people from riverbanks and house our people there. If these foreigners who are here, they are here illegally and they've hijacked or illegally occupied buildings, remove them and prioritize your people. There was no need for us to lose more than 390 people whilst we've got abandoned buildings in Durban, which they could have been used to house the people. With that, we are saying thank you very much. We have come to the end of our media briefing, but here we are talking about time frames. We will be back soon. Action will be activated. As to how, we are not going to divulge it here. Thank you.
There are the questions. So it's done, how much? So we don't have no more one-on-one. You can just do one-on-one if you want anything else. Yeah? Or we're doing one-on-ones because I think I'm the only corner. Yeah, so we can just do one-on-one afterwards. It's fine. That's the Mama Congress, Ahmed. It's in the